All right, so Paul Hood, we're doing a pre-show show here. This is the part of the show that will go before today's show, because surely today's show will feature a guest, and his name is Doug Foley. But I want to tap into your brain about this topic before we get into the interview.
Well, I appreciate that, because it sounds like it's going to be such an amazing show that we need to get the pre-show done, or we won't be involved in the actual show.
Well, this guy, this guest here, he wrote a new book called The Breakout Blueprint: How to Find Your Passion, Take Action, and Build a Lifestyle Business.
Awesome.
Now, this is very interesting. This is an interesting topic, because I feel like a lot of people get hung up on this idea, and I want to get Craig Hagan's take on this. I want to get Aaron Antis's take on this. I want to get James's take on this, okay? Because we have a lot of successful entrepreneurs in one place. There's very, very rarely do you have several, the founders or the people who run multiple multi-million-dollar organizations in the same place at the same time. So this is going to be a little kind of a town hall about merging your profit with your passion.
I like that.
All right, so here we go. As it relates to if your goal is to turn your passion into your profits, I have found that for me personally, I like growing companies, and therefore it's easy for me to do. It doesn't feel like a burden to do it, and so it's always been easy for me. And I'd like to say, oh, it's because I work really hard. I'd like to say, I'd like to do that, but really, I just like doing it. So it doesn't feel like that big of a burden. But I'm good at it because I like doing it. And so it's like the way maybe Michael Jordan played basketball. He liked playing basketball, and therefore he'd always go back to basketball. That was like his safe refuge. However, when I edited the book this weekend, I sincerely dislike editing books. And this book, Mastermind Manuscripts, has been a labor of love. I like when it's done, but the editing process to me is terrible. Yeah. And what I see is a lot of entrepreneurs who refuse to do anything except for their passion, and therefore they never make any money.
True.
So I want to get your take on this, Paul, because you work with a lot of different business owners at Hood CPAs. You do the accounting for a lot of top-level entrepreneurs. What's the balance there for somebody out there listening who says, gosh, I'm very passionate about duck hunting, and I want to make money duck hunting, and so they've spent the last 4 years writing a blog about duck hunting, and they're not making any money with it.
Right.
In their actual their formal training, let's say, is welding. They know how to do welding, but they won't do it because it's not. I just want to get your take on this. Where should somebody? How does somebody turn their passion into profits? Is it always possible?
Well, yeah, it's possible, but sometimes you have to kind of think outside the box. Like your welder who loves duck hunting, maybe his passion is creating something with his actual skill, welding, that can be used in the duck hunting business, and so therefore he can go duck hunting, test his product, but also have a product to sell. So, Clay, you know as well as I do, there's a lot of things that people play at business, and so we have to sit them down and say, all right, let's back into the viability of this business, and let's try to pivot and make it to where you can actually make money. We may not be out, shooting ducks right now, but you're putting yourself in a position to be able to do that.
So my pro tip for anybody out there listening, and Z, I want to get your take on this. We're talking about how to turn your passion into profits, and is it even possible? I always tell people, just figure out some things you need to sell, how many problems you need to solve in exchange for the money that you want to have, and find a way to do it as quickly as possible. Therefore, you have the time needed to pursue it. And Z, so let's focus on one thing that you're excited about. Okay.
Well, I would ask you, what happens if a guy has no passion? What happens there?
So we're not going to take this show to that.
Single.
Hey, we're not going to take it there right now. Listen. Let's talk about the area of what's the area of your home. There's so many cool areas of your new home, but what's the area in the middle of the home that's outside? But it's what do you call that area in your home right there with the pool and
the backyard?
No, it's
the courtyard.
The courtyard.
Well, that's the one on the we call the courtyard on the.
Stop it! What do you call the area with the deck and the outdoor kitchen? What are you calling that whole thing?
I just
what
call
are you calling it now?
I have my cabana, so I have my cabana room. I have my cabana room that I hang out in.
There's a cabana there.
But it's got the fountain. It's got the lanai thing or whatever that is, the little covered thing where you eat and.
What's a lanai? Is it similar to
a place
bidet?
in Hawaii? That's a place in Hawaii.
Yeah, I'm very passionate. I'm very passionate about my lanai.
Girl,
I don't even know that's what they call it.
What is a lanai?
I don't know. I'm gonna I'm going to duck go that right
The
now.
girl I dated in
These
high
big
school,
words.
Clay. I don't
Yeah, what's her name?
You know, he starts talking all these fancy words, and we got his house. He's giving me a tour of his new house, and he says, "Clay, that's a bidet, or that's French for a water fountain, drinking
or a
fountain."
Here, take a drink.
porte-cochet.
Here,
He
take
has
a drink, Clay. Careful to shoot you in the
porte-cochet,
eye.
too. I mean,
Kind of a weird location. See, it's such a bougie existence. No, but seriously, what do you call that area? What do you call that area? Have you named it yet?
Well, I'm trying to tell you what
Come on,
it is.
man. What do you call that area?
A lanai, listen, a lanai or a
Mickey,
lanai
Mickey,
is a type of roofed, open-sided veranda, patio, or porch. That's exactly what that is. That is a lanai.
Stop using
It is-
complicated words.
Sorry,
That is
sorry
two
about that.
syllables. Lanai, the whole thing.
Hey.
Like, Aaron Antis, your new house. You just bought a house.
Yeah.
It has a nice lanai. Is that right? How do you spell that again? Lanai.
Lanai. I don't know how you spell it. but yes.
Lanai. Lanai.
Lanai.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to write that down right now. Lan.
Clay's going to have a lanai. It's built in now.
Lanai.
If you don't have a lanai at your new home, I just call boo on you.
If you don't have
if you don't have a lanai, this is what I'm gonna do.
Can he have a
lanai,
bidet
Hey, you've
in
got me
his
muted over
lanai?
here.
Your new home.
Hey, unmute my. I can't boo you with
This how about this? If you don't want to have, if you don't want, this will be their show title. If you don't want to have a lanai at your new home, this show is
Thrive
not
Nation.
for you.
I'm trying to get him to unmute me so I
show
can
Is
give him what he
not
deserves right now.
for you. Here you go. I unmuted you. Go for it now. Okay.
There, that's
If you
it.
don't want to have a lanai at your
There
new home,
you
this show is
go.
not for you.
There.
Okay, but your area, it costs some money. I'm not asking how much it costs, but it costs money.
Yes.
And you know that you have to see a lot of, your business has to see a lot of patients.
Yes.
You're an optometrist.
I was wondering where he was going with all
You
this.
have to see a lot of patients in order. So let's say your outdoor. Let's say your outdoor grill is $10,000 or $15,000. You know how many patients you need to see in order to pay for that thing.
Right. Or you just see one and you just charge the heck out of them.
But I think a lot of people get obsessed about this and they start to say, "Well, I just can't be an optometrist because I don't have a huge passion for the human eye."
I remember one time, seriously, when I was first starting off, I went to continuing education, and there they had a guy that was practice management. So, of course, I signed up for that. I'm thinking, oh, this guy's smart, And he had the long flowing hair. He looked kind of like a guru, and he was up there, and he said,
Hey,
Sup?
how many people in the audience, all you optometrists, want to make $1 million this year? And all the hands shot up in the air. Woo!
Yes!
Yeah!
want to make $1 million?
Yeah,
Yes, you want to
seven
make $1 million.
figures, baby.
Okay, sorry.
And he said, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to see one patient, and we're going to charge him $1 million. Everybody's just silent. He goes, now that I got your attention, here's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to talk about maximizing every patient that comes in the door and making as much money as you can on them while giving them the best care available.
Yeah.
I want to make sure the listeners get this.
I went the other direction a little bit because I was more of a value model,
Right.
So those guys, I'd rather see the asses and not the masses. No, I mean the masses, not the asses. Excuse me. I didn't know I could say asses, so I was a little timid. So I got it backwards. the
Summary
first
of
time.
the show: Z just wants to see asses.
I thought he was a leg guy. Z, I thought you were a leg guy, not an ass guy.
He talked about passion.
Listen, we talk about
I mean-
passion. That's why Z started out his career as a bleacher maintenance man. He worked underneath there, and he was. It
was a great job,
Why
by the way.
Why are you? This
It was a
guy
great
is so
job.
good at the bleachers. He's
You can find
maintaining.
change. You can find change underneath there.
just like to see
don't
asses.
knock it till you try it. That was a solid job. And besides, who checks your work? It's underneath the bleachers.
This
So,
guy
you
is
know.
his attention to detail, maintaining these
crazy.
bleachers is incredible.
I'll tell you what.
Clay, I got a real life example of my own life.
Yeah.
You know, I started off, I'm a CPA, and we do accounting, and we help people with their investments and all of that kind of stuff. And so that daily grind actually turned into a passion because my passion is to teach people how to be financially successful.
Yes.
You know, when people are financially successful, you teach them principles that they're not taught. And, especially in our world today, typically they don't vote like an idiot when they're financially successful. So
Or they know the repercussions that they do.
Exactly. And so,
Yeah.
you teach people, they quit making excuses. The ripple effect in their families is massive. And so you can take that daily grind, Clay, and make it a passion. So my passion is not doing people's tax returns or doing accounting or what have you. My passion is to teach people success principles, which has morphed off of the accounting and financial side of things.
But to further kind of dig down on what I was talking about, Clay, I
Yes,
don't
sir.
want to just gloss over it.
Yeah.
there's a couple of mindsets out there, folks. If you're starting a business, you own a business, you've got to pick a team and go with it. There's a difference between Neiman Marcus and Walmart, and they're both okay models. You know, one is higher end, better customer service, very bougie. You know, the sights and sounds and smells, all the little five senses are received differently there.
Well, they all have sights, sounds, and smells, just different.
Just different. That's what I'm saying. Just different. Well said.
And, we're not talking about bleacher maintenance here.
And yet, if you went into Walmart expecting to be treated like you did in Neiman Marcus, you would be disappointed, right?
Yeah.
Sure. So there is a coaching up of your clientele so they get a good understanding of what it is. I was on the website the other day looking for a travel destination place, and it was kind of interesting. I was kind of stumbling along. My cousin's a travel agent, and he said, hey, well, check out, here's a couple, 3 places to check out. And on one of them, it was kind of fun because it was a resort that said, listen, we want to make sure you have great expectations. We have 5-star ratings, and this is a reason why we don't allow groups. We don't want big parties. We don't want loud. We don't want kids that could scream and jump in the pool and do a belly flopper. We're not. If that's what you're looking for, we ain't your place. Now, here's what we want. We're like a romantic couples destination, ranked top 3 in the world for that. We like it quiet. We don't even have tables in our restaurant that'll fit more than 6 people at them to begin with.
Did you stay at the Okmulgee Casino? Is that where you stayed? The one here is the only one I showed.
Yeah. How'd you find it?
It's the one here. It's like a metal building look. Is that where you went?
No, when I went, it was still kind of a tent. You know, there's kind of that hard tent looks to it. So I didn't know that they'd upgrade the metal tent. I mean, the metal building. That's impressive.
So let's make sure we get this. So step 1, determine how much your passion costs. What does it cost per year? What is it? You stay at the nice resort. How much does it cost per night? Whatever, right?
Yeah.
Step 2, how much profit do you make per customer? And you're a optometry clinic. I mean, you're value-based.
Yeah,
per
value-based.
widget, per client, per customer.
Right.
But, I mean, you're focused on giving people great value. They come back. And step 3, you determine how many customers you need to achieve your goals per week. You got to break it down to per week.
Right. And if you're going to be a value model, you need to see more. So you have to have things set up that you can be more efficient with people's time coming in and coming out.
Now, what happens is if you, though, want to get paid to pursue your passion, a lot of times that's not possible. Because, you have met optometrists that are obsessed with the human eyeball, and that's what they get into.
Right.
But more often than not, I mean, you say, look, we're helping people. It helps improve the world.
Right.
It helps our patients.
Right.
But that's not your end-all passion.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
I mean, that's okay. Antis, I want to get your take on this. You like real estate.
I love it.
You're interested in properties. You own vacation properties, rental properties. You own investment properties. You happen to sell homes, and you like selling homes. You're into real estate. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, selling homes and doing home tours all day, every single day is not your number one passion. Am I correct?
That is true. I would say that I started off in a mode of I kind of fell into new home sales and found out that I loved it. But I had big goals. So I would say, being honest, I started out with a bit of greed in my mind. And I had a great mentor back when I lived in Michigan who used to tell me, Aaron, it's okay to start with greed, but that's only going to take you so far. At some point, you need to get a mission or a cause. Yeah. And I would say I've moved over more towards the mission and cause side of my career.
Does your new house
help other people
have a lanai?
It does have a lanai, yes.
Does it have a bidet?
It does not, but did you know that is the best-selling product on the market right now? Ever since toilet paper, you couldn't find it because of coronavirus.
Are you being serious?
I am very serious.
Are you being serious?
What about
People
those?
are asking for bidets like crazy.
Have you seen those automatic ones? You know where they do the whole thing. It's kind of a bidet and toilet in one.
Yeah,
yeah, those are kind of hot. I think I'm gonna get me one of those.
At some point in the future, let's do an entire show about bidets.
I may never get out of the bathroom though. I don't know. Clay, I want to say something to you.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about passions, and we're talking about, guys that you're not going to get paid to do your passion. Every now and then, on few exceptions, does a fella get fortunate enough to get paid to do his passion. But what I found out is, after a while, it's like, well, I really enjoyed golf, and then I became a professional golfer, and now it's a job. Yeah. And I just kind of want to get away from it for a little while,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, even then, it kind of backfires on you a little bit. Someone was telling me the other day, they said, why did you get into thoroughbred racehorses? And I said, well, my whole life I wanted a horse ranch. It was just, I just thought it was a bucket list. I watched Bonanza growing up and Lone Ranger. And I just, thought that was, Gunsmoke. Those were just so cool, And then when it came around, I thought, well, okay, I'm gonna get a horse ranch. Now, what kind of horses? And I thought, well, I'm going to do what every guy wants to do. I'm going to get
miniature ponies.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I'm going to get thoroughbreds because that at least gives me a shot for someone to pay for my passion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
So,
But you're very
so they subsidize it.
You're
Yeah.
very intentional about how can you earn enough money to pursue your passion. How can you take your hobby and fund it? And if it's possible to turn your hobby into a business, that you do it. I mean, these are
Yeah, that's what you do.
intentional thoughts. No. Craig is an interesting guy. He's a pastor of a mega church,
Mega.
Rhema Church.
Does he use a megaphone? Is that what that means?
Are you,
I just talk loud.
sir, as a pastor of a mega church, are you passionate about the gospel, or are you? Walk us through why you have chosen ministry, sir.
Well, yeah, I'm passionate about the gospel, but really I'm passionate about people. You know, it's all about people, really. And really, any business is about people. You know, we have to be a people pleaser when it comes to normal business. Now, my business is going to be a God pleaser. And so we want to teach people to be a God pleaser. And if we get people passionate about the things of God, passionate about the ministry, passionate about what we're doing, then obviously they're going to help, finance the ministry. But, once again, like we're talking about, some people have hobbies and some people, need to fund those hobbies. I was talking to a guy today at lunch today, and he has a business idea he's very passionate about, and he knows how much money it's going to cost him to get to that place. He don't have the money. He doesn't have anyone to back him. He doesn't have any proof. And I said, you have a job opportunity that can pay you $100,000 a year, and you're not going to pursue that? Well, I don't want to help build this other guy's business. I said, if you build his business, then you can help build your business, or maybe that person can help you build your business once they find out how much you.
That's a great word.
How much
That
you
preaches.
can. How much you can actually help them.
Sure.
And that's the thing. I said, you have no proof of concept that you can actually do what you can do. Now, you can tell me, you can show me websites. That's what he was doing today. And that's great. I said, but you go prove me you can help build someone else's business, and then somebody will want to help you with your business.
Okay, now I'm curious.
All right.
I've got a curious mind, Pastor. Sorry. It just gets the best of me.
Yes.
What business genre is it?
Well, and actually, it's not really genre. It's just some web marketing, web management, some things like that.
Oh, yeah, that old shtick.
Yeah, so
That old shtick.
and that's the deal. I've heard it millions of times. So if you want it to work, you better prove with someone else's business it'll work.
That's true.
But that's a great word. I'll tell you what, go and work in that environment and build up your resume of successes. And so then when you want to spin off, number one, the guy that you're working for, you may be able to get him to partner with you in some capacities you could start. Or number two, now when you're trying to pitch it and sell it, you can show your resume of successes, So I think it's a great word. And I hope the young man or young woman, I'm not sure which, is willing to go and put the time in to grind and live below their means, save some money. That's how you do it. You get a job.
Come
and
on.
you don't spend all your money.
What?
True.
And you do, it's a 4-letter word. You save.
Save?
And you build up a war chest.
War chest.
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Oh, wow. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh!
Glory.
You see, brothers, there's a thing called a war chest.
War chest.
And a brother needs it when he's going to war.
Oh, yeah.
When you're going to war.
And when you're opening up a business, you're just inviting war. War's coming.
Say it.
War's coming. War's right around the corner.
Put down the megaphone, Benny.
Come on now. So you got to build it up. It ain't going to build up by itself.
Ain't gonna build
Oh,
itself
no.
up.
And the way you build it up, folks,
How do you do it?
is you put some money in there. $1, $2. Pretty soon you got $100. Pretty soon you got $1,000. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
You
Put the
got
megaphone down, Benny.
$100,000 in there. And now you go. You go to war. Oh, that felt good.
That's a megaphone at this church.
I felt good. I haven't preached in a while. I'm inspired by having a preacher on the
Well,
show.
if you're thinking about, by the way, if you're thinking about starting a church where the call and response is common, you want to make sure the people in the church don't have amplification devices that are louder than that of yours.
or Tourette syndrome.
Yeah.
Either
Real
one of
quick,
those.
real
It
quick. I
doesn't
want
go
to go back to where we started before, because then we're getting this is all the
The
pre-show
pre-show,
leading up to the show.
Oh, yeah.
Is a lot of times you start off with a passion.
Passion.
And you say, I'm going to start an optometry business.
Oh, yeah.
So that I can buy real estate, a home with a lanai, etc. You
and
figure
eventually
out
get a horse ranch.
and you start to figure out how
Thoroughbreds.
much profit you need to make per customer to get there. So step 1, you determine your passion, what it costs. Step 2, you determine how much profit you can make per customer, per widget, etc. Step 3, you start to determine how many customers you need to achieve your goals. But then, and see, this is what happens. You did a great job setting the example of what to do properly here. Is other opportunities will come into your life, and you say no to those because because those opportunities are taking you away from your calling.
You think they are.
Because like your optometry clinic, you could have been in multiple states.
Could have been.
But you said you wanted to be home and be able to see your kids.
Right.
You said that.
So then I started other businesses within Tulsa.
But I mean, you could have opened them up in other states.
I could have, and I did for somebody else. I worked for someone else for a year, and I opened up 24 stores around the country.
So just because it's an opportunity doesn't mean you need to say yes to it.
This is correct.
So that's a big time out for somebody, because I see people who become wrecks, and I want to get James's take on this. James, you're an attorney, and then we're gonna wrap up the pre-show that we'll go into the show. James, you're an attorney and a New York attorney, so you've probably seen some very wealthy, miserable people. Have you seen this?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And the people who are super rich and hate their life, what are a couple common denominators? Because I know it started out with them pursuing their passion, but now they're all of a sudden they're filled with obligations and a bunch of other things. Tell me, hey, and Steve, we have to mute you. This is a show. This is a show. Okay, so tell me,
so excited.
how does somebody get to be so successful but hate their life? What happens? What do you see?
Well, I think there's a high level of insecurity that's involved with it too, both in terms of relationships. That's one, and another one is fear of loss. That's they've built this empire, and so they're terrified of losing it.
I can see that. Yeah.
That's also a big part of it as
Pastor
well.
Craig, do you see this where people, their business gets so big, so much obligation that they're weighed down? Do you ever see this?
Oh, I see people who get successful tend to go crazy because they're so busy. They're like, I'm successful now. I have no time to have fun or to do things, and also comes opportunity. I've seen people take an opportunity that temporarily helped them financially, but in the long run, it didn't help them reach the goal that they want to get to. And I think we all want to get to a place where we have an opportunity to relax a little bit and have, have a great time and things like that. Or maybe you guys do. I don't get to do that because my dad wants to do that, so now I'm the one doing a lot of the work. But that's what we want.
In due time, young man.
In due time. I do have kids that are coming on, but in due time. But some people are working so hard, they're making great money, but they're not really happy, and then they lose their passion for everything. And then, sometimes, like I said,
and then they start a podcast.
Now, before we get into our show, this is all pre-show. See, this is before the show, all this right here.
Oh,
I want to get Steve Currington on the mic, and I want to see if we can do a live negotiation here.
Okay.
Because with OxyFresh right now, if somebody out there buys an OxyFresh, $5,000 comes into the mothership, and you and I split it up.
Right.
Well, this is, we share this. We don't hide this.
We don't hide this.
We currently do not get any commissions if somebody uses Steve Currington for a mortgage.
None.
Please begin negotiating so we can begin generating another revenue stream here, because we're not doing it for the money, but we're going to do it for the money.
We're going to do it for the money.
What are we doing? I'm going to buy an OxyFresh?
No. We want to get paid because we want all of our listeners to only use Steve.
Have you ever done a system where someone sends you a hot lead and you give them a little?
Can we do that? Is that allowed? Is it legal?
Like a referral fee?
Yeah.
For you sending me a mortgage?
Yeah, like an advertisement fee. Is that allowed?
Highly illegal.
It's illegal?
Really?
It's highly illegal.
Oh,
so I
you can get your mortgage license.
I just won the negotiation.
Well, Clay, go get your mortgage license.
Hold on. How do I drop the mic when it's connected?
What if the person has a
Clay,
what if they have a mortgage
license.
company themselves and they say, listen, we can't get this deal done. It's too big for us. It's too complicated.
Yeah.
Would you do it? What happens then?
Yeah. What happens?
Is that illegal too?
You can't pay a kickback. If they actually brokered the loan through your company, you could pay them a fee. And there are ways that
there we go.
What if we don't
There's
Now we're
ways that
getting
like a community bank like Regent.
I know.
If you had a thing set up,
That's what I'm saying.
but you can't
work
get
together.
You can't get paid
get
when you
paid.
didn't provide a service.
Just
Like,
put
you
the
have
cash
to,
in the bag.
Oh yeah.
Leave it.
Well, I went out and I found the person.
Leave it for
Stuck
snakes.
him up.
But I could buy you a box of chocolates at Christmas.
Okay, so real quick, folks, if you
Mama
decide to
said.
get a mortgage,
Life's
if
like
you
a
try
box
to get a
of
mortgage through SteveCurrington.com, full disclosure. Steve's our passion.
Hey, but he's not giving
But
us
we're not
any
getting
of that.
paid for that. We would recommend that you use him. We've recommended him for our good friends.
Oh yeah.
I
But we're
just
not
got a
getting
call
paid.
from a thriver in Georgia.
Yet another
Today.
time we don't get paid.
Georgia.
That's an example of us pursuing our passion.
Yes.
For helping you make more money. We don't make any money. Now, folks, if you're out there and you buy an OxyFresh, we're getting paid.
Oh.
I mean, I'm just telling you that. We want to get paid, all right? And we're doing that for
Woo.
money.
And it's such a great deal and a great company.
It's a great company. We like the deal. We like the deal. We like the
for
company.
those of you that have a passion to have financial and time freedom,
Oh,
and you
get
go,
an OxyFresh.
I don't know how to get there. Get an OxyFresh.
Get a whole
Any
get a
relation
whole bag
to
of 'em.
Oxycontin? Like, isn't that a? Are you guys in on that deal
They're
too?
cousins.
I
They're
have a
cousins.
big passion for OxyContin. I was curious. No, okay. Now, Z, now that we've done the pre-show, we're now going to do our interview with Doug Foley here, and he's going to be talking about his new book called The Breakout Blueprint, where he's teaching you the moves.
He owes me money.
The specific moves for taking your passion and turning it into your profit center, and how to build a lifestyle business. And see, this was all just the pre-show.
This is a pre-show.
The pre-show was longer
Kinda
than the
like
actual
just
show.
foreplay.
but
Just foreplay.
Anytime that you can relate something to foreplay, I'd encourage you not to.
Well, at least I have pants on when I do the podcast, unlike you. So I mean, come on now.
I didn't think you could tell.
Okay.
Get ready to enter the Thrive Time Show.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top. Teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colton Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of five, that's why I'm a dive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the C and Z up on your radio. And now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom and we'll
Yes, and yes, Thrive Nation. We are in the air everywhere, and on today's show, we are joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Dougie Fresh Foley. Welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. Doug, how are you, sir?
I am great. Thanks so much for having me.
Doug, what percentage of your friends call you Dougie Fresh? Is it 0%, 2%? What percentage call you Dougie Fresh?
It's in the 90th percentile, I would say.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now for the
I
folks
feel
out
like I'm at home now.
now for the folks out there that have not yet looked into your background as we have, can you share with the listeners what it is that you do for a living?
I am an entrepreneur, investor, and a marketer by accident.
How did you become an entrepreneur, marketer, guru guy by accident?
You know, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, and so it kind of caught the bug, I think, genetically. But from there, I just was always surrounded by people doing odd things. I myself took a really odd career path, you know, everything from a blogger, an outdoorsman, a guy who attempted to sell makeup. And I really just realized that entrepreneurship was a really easy way to open the door to live whatever life you wanted.
So today now, I mean, you're having a lot of success. Tell us about this project here, the Breakout Blueprint.
The reason I wrote the book really came down to a mission I discovered right around the time my daughter was born. My wife and I went through a really troubling pregnancy with her, and I realized something important, that it was more about the impact you make on the world than any of the assets or things you could acquire. So that journey led me to starting the Happiness of Pursuit podcast and then writing this book. And the book itself is simply the same blueprint I eventually figured out through a lot of trial and error and frustration on how to build a lifestyle business.
What was your life like growing up as a kid? Where did you grow up, and what was it like growing up as a kid?
So I am the youngest of 8 kids.
Whoa.
By far. Definitely not planned. So that's why the Dougie Fresh sticks so well.
Nice.
And growing up to an entrepreneurial father, he owned a business. Most of my brothers, they're around 15, 20 years older than me. They own businesses. So I grew up seeing what entrepreneurship could provide. I was lucky. It was almost like being a grandkid, but still brothers and sisters. So I was exposed to a lot. And one of the things that happened when I was a senior in high school, my father's business went bankrupt. And I realized at that time, as hard as that was to watch him go through, he still had a way, and because of what the knowledge and experience he gained, to rebound, to go build again, to go create something.
So when did you figure out what you wanted to do professionally? I mean, was there like a moment where you said, "Oh man, this is when I did you have a moment where you had that epiphany?"
this morning. I'm just kidding. All joking aside, I really think entrepreneurship is more about the journey and putting yourself on a path to do things that give you fulfillment day in, day out. I don't know necessarily that there's any specific moment in time where I was like, oh, this is the thing I'm going to do, but more so of having the willingness to take action and try something where I really uncovered the things I hated and the things I enjoyed. And I just constantly continued to evolve and go closer to the things that I knew I was really good at, the things I knew provided value to people, and most importantly, the things that gave me the greatest sense of fulfillment. And when I had that realization, my income tended to follow that. The early parts of my career, all I did was chase money. I was trying to figure out how could I sell the most, get the most commission, make as much money, get all the things. And when I made that pivot to focus on the impact and the sense of fulfillment, my income tripled.
So how do you make an income today? What exactly do you do?
So there's a number of things. I would say the majority of it's from running an agency.
Got it.
So run a marketing agency. And a fair amount, business partner and I started a mastermind group for agency owners. So taking what we've learned in building an agency into a course and then speaking engagements and consulting.
And what's the name of your podcast for the listeners out there that might want to check it out?
The Happiness of Pursuit.
And you've interviewed, some of the top entrepreneurs on the earth on your podcast. How did you go about recording your first show?
So I remember back then, this was almost 5.5 years ago now, I just scrambled, got a mic, and was fortunate enough that a few really big names would be guinea pigs for me, plugged it in and just went. And the easiest thing that got the podcast started is someone said yes to being a guest. I didn't necessarily wait until I had all the equipment and recorded or take any courses. I just asked someone if they wanted to be on it. They said yes, and I went from there. And that, to be honest, has kind of been the catalyst or big lesson I've learned is if you want to build something, you need to ask somebody. And then once they're locked in or they say yes, you have to go. Like there's no sense retreat. One of my favorite quotes is if you want to take the island, you have to burn the boats. And by getting that person to book the calendar date for the interview, I had no choice but to figure the rest out.
And then did you record this in your house at the time? Was it like in an apartment? Where were you physically set up?
Yeah, I still have pictures of that. I made a corner in my unfinished basement, like basically pushed the moving boxes aside, made a desk I found online for $10 and one of the classified ads, and got a microphone to my laptop and went to work.
Do you remember what kind of microphone you used?
I still have it. I actually just pulled it out today. It was the Audio Technica ATR. Can't remember the rest of the model number.
Now, you've had some huge guests on your shows over the years, 150 of some of the biggest names in the world. How did you go about getting your first guest to say yes?
It really came back to my mission. So I had this goal of helping 1,000 entrepreneurs build a lifestyle business. And part of that journey was to interview people who had done it or who were in the process of doing that. And I think the commonality, the goal, really helped get some of those people. If your guests are familiar with Tom Bayou of Impact Theory, he actually was my 100th guest, and I interviewed him in his living room on their set.
So you went to his house?
Yes.
Cool.
It was a funny story. So I was an earlier follower when he had Inside Quest, where they documented a lot of the behind the scenes of how they built their $1 billion empire. And I just stayed in touch with him. I said, hey, listen, I'm going to happen to be in LA the same week of my 100th episode. You've been a big role model of the show. I'd love to interview you on Facebook Live for the 100th episode. And he said, hey, yeah, absolutely. Why don't you come to the studio and we'll do it there. And so the night before, his team sent me the address and said, Mulholland Drive. I'm like, that sounds like a famous street. Now, I'm from Canada, so I was in LA. I wasn't 100% familiar with the area, but the name of the street sounded familiar. So I Googled it. I was like, I think they sent me the address to his house, not like a studio. And sure enough, like it was, they set up a studio inside their house. So I mean, we walked up the street. He was across the street from Charlie Sheen. Mark Wahlberg's house was on the same street, and we shot the 100th episode live from his living room. That was another thing. Like shooting that live, that big of an interview. I don't know what I was thinking, but fortunately, it turned out well.
What are a few of the shows that you feel like all of the listeners should check out? If they haven't heard any of your shows before, what are maybe a few specific shows where you say, wow, this is a show, if you're going to explore all things Tom Foley, what's maybe a show or a couple shows that you'd recommend all of our listeners would check out?
100% the Thrive Time podcast. That's got to be up there.
Yeah, okay.
Impact Theory is a big one. Being that I'm in the marketing space, Joe Polizzi and Robert Rose, they just relaunched This Old Marketing. That's really good. Tim Ferriss's podcast is another one I listen to, and those are probably some of the favorites.
Is there a particular interview that you've done with a guest? I mean, I know you've had some big-time guests over the years on your show. Is there a particular interview that you've done that you might recommend that our listeners would check out?
Episode 100 is a really, really good one. The episode with Jeff Hoffman is also probably one of my favorites. If you're not familiar with Jeff Hoffman, he helped launch Priceline.com along with a number of other. He's an Uber entrepreneur, one of the billionaires I interviewed on the podcast. He's also probably one of the biggest advocates for entrepreneurship. So check out the one with Jeff Hoffman. If you just Google Happiness or Pursuit Jeff Hoffman, it'll show up.
Fun Jeff Hoffman factoid for you. Yesterday, I was finishing editing my book. I've got another 40-some-odd pages to finish of my newest book called Mastermind Manuscripts. And the last chapter I just edited featured Jeff Hoffman. So I know about Jeff Hoffman. We've had him on our show. I couldn't agree more, folks. If you get a chance to check it out, your interview with Jeff Hoffman and I believe you just Google search Doug Foley, Foley, and then Jeff Hoffman Priceline. You should be able to find that show there. Now, we are joined here today, Doug, with Aaron Antis of Shaw Homes. He runs the largest home building company in Oklahoma. And he's a former Michigan Wolverine fan, pre-COVID, big Michigan guy. Now he has kind of an emptiness as the stadiums are empty, so he's kind of kind of a fish out of water right now. But so Aaron Antis, what question would you have for Doug?
Well, first of all, that setup, please don't mention Michigan anymore because I'm kind of in mourning right now. But anyways, Doug, it's a pleasure to be on with you. My question for you is, I have two sons. One is 17, the other's 19. So one is literally graduating from high school. The other one just graduated from high school. And I remember that period in my life kind of being where everybody's asking you, what are you going to do with your life? And, are you going to go to college? What are you going to study? And I really didn't figure it out until about 24. And so when you're in that
real quick,
mode,
for anybody out there, just real quick, pro tip. If you are a no-talent ass clown, you should be a governor of a blue state. Okay, back to you. If you don't know what to do and you have no talent and you are an ass clown, I just want to throw it out. If you have no idea what to do with your life and you have you're no talent, you're an ass clown, you just show up as a blue state governor and you have to have no talent, no skill, and they'll let you right in, Paul. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Paul?
I agree 1,000%.
Unbelievable. Okay, back to you. Sorry about that. I just want to help anybody out there who is a no talent ass clown.
That is a great pro tip.
Yeah.
Actually, my question, though, for you is, when you were coming out of high school and you were kind of going through that mode, it's high school and college. Everybody's asking you, your parents, friends, everybody's saying, what are you going to do with your life? Kind of where were you at and what did you think you wanted to do? And then at what point did that morph into this? Did you have something that changed that? And was there a ridiculous career field that you thought you were going to go into that you didn't do at some point?
I have a really good example of that. But for me personally, I had a golf scholarship in the States, and I was a captain for 4 years. So everyone assumed that I was going to go to the PGA Tour or pursue a job in the golf industry. And I remember I had an interview with Titleist, and they said, hey, we'd really love to have you. Are you okay with moving to Iowa? I was like, no. No, I'm not. I want to be home near my family, and they, forced one of the friends or the person who set up the interview, like, listen, if they say to move, the answer is always yes, absolutely, because it's, it's an honor to be able to work there. Still love Titleist as a company, but that was the first realization that I don't have to play by somebody's rules. Because that's what everyone else ahead of me said I should do. I realized I don't want to do that. I don't want to play that game. I want to write the rules to be on my terms and be able to live life like I want. And I remember a friend of mine, her son was about to graduate, and she said, hey, he wants to get a career in marketing. Would you mind sitting down with him and giving him some advice? So I sat down with him, and I asked him, I said, what is it? Why do you want, a marketing internship? What career path? He said, well, I want to play professional hockey. I was like, well, what does a marketing internship have to do if that's your goal? He said, well, it'll look good on job resume down the road. So we got to talking a little more, and we started to unpack his passion. He told me his story. He was, scrappier player, didn't develop until later in his career, so he went undrafted. But he ended up playing hockey NCAA, and he actually had a tryout coming up with a minor league team. So after he told me the story, I said, well, instead of, working a part-time job as, making minimum wage, instead of getting an internship, why don't you teach other hockey prospects how to get a scholarship so that they can prolong their hockey career beyond 16, 17, and they can get an education out of it. He since turned around and turned that into a recruiting business. He probably helped almost 20 kids get a scholarship.
Oh, wow.
And it was things like that that made me revisit, just because everybody else went to college, just because that's the way someone said it should be done, you can rewrite the rules. There's no greater time, I think, in our entire history for people to create the freedom they want, to go develop and hone a skill. And I took it to the extreme. I mean, I took a very dedicated career path. I switched jobs because I wanted to learn some very specific things. I went and worked at a content marketing agency because I wanted to understand how really good content was created. And then I went to work for an automotive platform to understand how did the data work? How did we process transactions? How do we group audiences for advertising? And I used those because I wanted to be one of the best marketers in the world, because I knew that was going to be the vehicle to help me create the business to enable the lifestyle.
Yeah.
But for people who aren't willing necessarily to put that time in, you don't have to follow the path. Go create your own thing.
Great answer. Thank you.
Now, Paul Hood, we're going to get into Doug's book in just a second here. But before we do that, you're a CPA.
I am.
You have thousands of clients all over the country. Doug interviews super successful entrepreneurs. He helps companies market their businesses. What question would you have for Doug, the main man Foley?
The main man Foley.
The main man, Dougie Fresh.
Yeah, so Doug, I help a lot of businesses and go from being technicians to actually being businesses and helping them scale and grow and save taxes and invest and all of that. A question that always comes up that I always ask my clients, and I'd like to get your take on it, being in the marketing field.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Is marketing versus advertising versus branding versus SEO. I mean, do you think those are all synonymous? What's the difference between marketing and advertising, and how might a person go about? How do you recommend people go about figuring out what path they take?
The first thing to me, especially if they're service-based businesses, is to take a look at the core of their business and look at their existing customers. Most people will get pitched something like, I'll get you leads from Facebook, or SEO is the most common one. I'd rather see a business build it in reverse and have them look at, what is my existing customers like? How do I get them to spend more? How do I get my existing customers to refer business to me? And then can I optimize that and get them to give me a review, whether it's Google Maps, Facebook, or if there's a trade association? Those three things are free, and most people neglect them. But if those three things aren't possible, when you get into advertising, which is essentially paying for either traffic or attention, it's just going to put a spotlight on a struggling business. And when we go to talk to a customer, we use a really, really simple framework called tactics. So the T is, where does our traffic come from? And how do you just take a look at, do I need to pay for my traffic? So is it a billboard ad? Is it digital ads? And when they click or when they take that action, what is the action they want them to take? Like, they don't even look at how do we, what are the experiences we want these people to see when they first get to our website, when they get to our store? The C in the tactics acronym is for commitment. Do we want them to fill out a form? Do we want them to subscribe to social? Do we want them to buy into what we're doing? And then you get to the transaction. Now, in business to business, that could be time. They may be giving up time for an appointment or to hear a pitch. But the most important part when they look at that to try to make the decision, should I be doing advertising? Should I be doing marketing? Is taking a look at what is the buying experience like for my customers. So if you were to look at a car dealership, they spend all the money on the advertisements, billboards, bus ads, digital. All they're trying to do is get you to the lot to get a bum and seat to drive the car. If they do that, they got a 50-50 chance at you buying it there. But they don't take the time to look at the numbers, to do that assessment and just think, do I have a good customer experience? And then where do I drive people to my store?
All right. Now, Doug, we have got 90 seconds here. I'm going to try to pack in 3 powerful questions because we don't have time. Even though you're from Canada, we do not have time to talk about Bryan Adams, Justin Bieber, John Candy, the Mounties, or hockey goons. We cannot get into those stereotypical Canadian conversations. We must get out some of this great knowledge that you can't get in college out of your cranium. Let's talk about the Breakout Blueprint. What is the Breakout Blueprint? I know it's the focus of your new book, but what is the Breakout Blueprint?
It is the guide to help you find your passion, take action, and build a lifestyle business.
So can you walk us through maybe the blueprint for this or maybe the equation?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is trying to identify what is it in your life that you love and that you're passionate about, and then try to align that with something the world values and needs. And once you connect those two things, that gives you the opportunity to then exchange that for some type of compensation. The hardest part for most people is they haven't understood fully what that means to them and what type of lifestyle they want. So the book starts with helping you design your lifestyle and what you want to live, and then lining those other things up so you can fulfill that.
I feel like a lot of people want to turn their passion into profits, and then they end up turning their passion into poverty, and then they end up hating their passion, and they hate the poverty. Where do people get it wrong?
I think most people make the mistake between their hobby and their passion. And they try to live in their hobby. Like for me, love playing golf, love fishing, love hunting. And when I first started, I tried to create a blog to monetize that. But what I ended up doing is turning the thing that I love and that I enjoy and I do to relax into a job. Whereas when I actually sat down and took a look at the things I was most passionate about, things like growing businesses, the things like marketing, and the way I uncovered that is I started to look at, what are the podcasts I'm listening to? What are the books I'm reading? I wasn't reading books on hunting and fishing. When I was at work, I didn't want to necessarily talk to people about hunting and fishing that much. I was more talking about like things I learned on a podcast about how to explode your social following or how to drive more conversions, how to drop your lead costs. So I realized that by following my passion and developing that expertise, that gave me the means and the time to then be able to afford to go do more hunting and fishing.
Now, Doug, I want to get into one more tough question before we wrap up today's show. I think a lot of people want to know this, and I want to tap into your wisdom. Explain to our listeners out there that don't know, what is a goon in the game of hockey? What is a goon?
Oh, first of all, really good movie. Not the best actors. Somebody who will kind of rough somebody up. It's like the hockey equivalent of a bully, an on-ice bully. But his job is to protect the best players on the ice.
Do you consider the Prime Minister of Canada to be a goon? Who's the most prominent goon right now? Who's the most prominent hockey goon right now? Who's the goon up in Canada that will hit people the hardest right now? You said this guy.
Now this is where I can go back to my Michigan roots, and we can talk about.
Don't you know?
We can talk about Bob Probert all for like another hour here, Doug.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if you remember. He was the ultimate goon.
Who's the ultimate goon in professional hockey right now? Who is he?
You know what? I would think to this day, Ty Domi's a favorite because he was a Toronto Maple Leaf. He was pretty tough. He was a little guy, but man, was he scrappy.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, folks, again, if you want to get a copy of Doug's new book, and I know you do, it's called The Breakout Blueprint, The Breakout Blueprint there. Doug, where do you want people to buy your book? You want to get them, pick it up on Amazon? Is there a certain website you want people to go to, or what?
Pick it up on Amazon. Follow me on social, Douglas J. Foley, on all of the social channels. I appreciate all of it.
Doug, I appreciate you so much. You are a great Canadian, and I appreciate you for joining us here south of the border on today's show.
Thanks so much for having me. Take care, guys.
Take care. And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom! All right, let's just say that you're out there listening today and you have a website for your business. The question I would have for you is, are you getting the most number of leads possible? Are you ranking high? Wow.
Touching the canvas.
Can't feel my face. Or are you ranking low in the Google search engine results? Again, I ask, are you ranking high? Or are you ranking low on the Google search engine search results? Take a moment today and do a Google search for the keywords that you want to come up top for and see where you are ranking. We have Josh Spurl, a CPA from Canada, and we have Dr. Timothy Johnson here from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Josh Spurl, how in the heck are you?
Doing pretty good, Clay. Yourself?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well here. We're not broadcasting from the Man Cave studios as normal, so we got a little bit of background noise there to contend with, but we're here, and I wanted to see if you could share with the Thrive Nation approximately how long you and I have been working together and how that's impacted the number of inbound leads that you're generating as a result of your Google search engine ranking and internet marketing.
Well, we've been working together, Clay, now for almost a year. It was about a year ago I came out to my first conference, and then we started with the coaching program shortly after that. And, our Google leads have gone from, something that we would generate, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 leads a year to, we're talking about 3 to 9 leads every single week.
And now we have Dr. Timothy Johnson in the box from Alabama, Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, so I'm at Southern Eye Consultants. It's in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We heard about you on the podcast, and I had a lot of trepidation at first about getting involved, just making sure it was legit. But all my expectations have been exceeded.
What concerns did you have about our legitness or lack thereof?
I was just concerned about back-end upselling, what I was getting into.
That's what I found. My entire career, I had been. Had you guys been to Dr. Tim? Had you been to other workshops or had other industry coaching before? Because I had hired a lot of them, frankly, and I just found I spent. I would be lying if I said hundreds of thousands. It's been more than that.
Oh, we hired somebody to do our website right before we found you.
Yeah,
and it was 3 or 4 months of your coaching service, and we still haven't launched that website yet.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. So if somebody out there's thinking about filling out the form, if someone's thinking about emailing us to info@thrivetimeshow.com, that's info@thrivetimeshow.com, and they have a little bit of hesitation, just a little bit, I don't know, just a little bit, what advice would you have for them, Dr. Tim?
First of all, come to one of the conferences. You'll see that he may dress like Bill Belichick, but my wife's a Pats fan, so that was a real selling point.
Nice.
She thought you were a hobo, but I said, no, he's just Bill Belichick. She goes, okay, you can go.
Nice.
But it's also month to month, so try it, and if you don't like it, cancel.
That deserves a mega point. Yeah. So again, where has your sales gone up? Have you increased your sales? I mean, where's your financial? I'm not asking for the hard number here, but as a percentage, how much are you up since you started with the program? 4 months ago versus now?
Our sales have gone up 20%. We're looking to scale Southern Eye Consultants, and just the number of patients who come in because they found us on Google has gone up a lot. I text you once a week. You paid for yourself just in somebody walking in. So.
Oh, Billy.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Again, if you're out there today and you feel stuck, just email us to info@thrivetimeshow.com. Info@thrivetimeshow.com. Let us begin to do a deep dive analysis on your website. We'll tell you what's wrong with it. We're going to do a 37-point audit of your website. Our member of our team will call you. They'll go over it with you. They'll break it down. You'll understand what you need to do to improve. I'll give you the final words here, guys. So start with you, Captain Spurl, Josh Spurl, CPA. As Captain Canada and as a man who's been to 2 workshops now, we got an audience, picture 500,000 people listening here. What is the advice that you would tell them?
I think they got to come out to a workshop. You know, it's the best one that I've ever seen. You know, I find that most of the workshops I've been to, you're sitting around all day for one good idea, and you're getting a good idea every single hour at these workshops.
Dr. Tim, what is the word of encouragement, maybe discouragement, maybe the motivation, maybe the verbal tasering? What advice would you give for the listeners out there today?
I'd say the worst idea you can do is not starting now. Just call and start now, and you'll be better off for it.
You heard them right there. Thrive Nation, go to info@thrivetimeshow.com. Email us to info@thrivetimeshow.com. Allow us to do a free 37-point analysis of your website. We'll tell you what's wrong. We'll tell you how to fix it. If you're not ranking high enough in those Google search engine results, it will literally cost your company millions and millions and millions of dollars. But don't take my word for it. Go to thrivetimeshow.com and click on the testimonials button. And as of the time of this recording, we have over 1,000 video reviews from my clients I've had from 2008 up until now, from conference attendees. You're just an email away from becoming a game-changing success story. Email us today at info@thrivetimeshow.com. And we like to end every show and every shameless testimonial session with a boom. And so now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom.